Hello, this is Dr. Alan Yim. In this video, I'm going to be talking about passing 6/4 chords. So, a passing 6/4 chord can be identified by the bass which steps. So, bass moves in steps. And if you look at the part that I have here in the brackets, you might notice how the bass is stepping in measures 2 and 4. And usually the 6/4 chord is going to be on a weak beat. So 6/4 chord is, when it's on a weak beat, we call this unaccented. Okay? So on a weak beat. And in this case, you can see that this is in 3/8. So the meter here is 3/8, 3/8 notes per measure, and here is where we might find a passing 6/4 chord because it's on beat 2, right? Beat 2 in 3, we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The strong beat is beat 1, so this is on the weak beat, beat 2. Now, let's go ahead and analyze the chords. First of all, in the first measure, these are, looks like a D, notice the key signature. Looks like it's in the key of G. These are D major triads. So these are 5 chords here. Alright, and then let's take a look at the second measure. Now the second measure contains 3 chords. Without even looking at the downbeat, because I talked about the most common chord progression, you might be already guessing at what that chord is. And if you guess 1, you are correct. This is a G major triad. So GBD. Now, one thing to notice, I talked about the triad, that they are all the same kind of note. But you might look at this and say, well, wait a minute. That bass note is on a space. The upper notes are on lines. That is not what you told us. Okay, but keep in mind that the one in the bottom is in the bass clef, and the one on the top is in the treble clef. This little trick that I showed you only works when they're in the same clef. So you can see here we have all space notes line notes there. So that is a root position triad. This one here, you can't really do it because they're on 2 different clefs. But you can see this is GBD, and the G is the lowest note, so that's a root position triad. Now, over here, this looks like the same chord, right? G, B, D, and it is in fact, this time though, the thirds in the bass. So this is G over B. Now, the most interesting chord here is the one in the middle. If you look at the 3 notes here, we have a D, and then we have 2 A's. And you might go, I'm not sure what that is. Is D blank A? Well, this is a second inversion triad, and interestingly, the third of it is missing. It looks like a D chord, and since we've already had 5/1, and then we have blank 1/6, this is really 5/6/4. So this is the passing 6/4 chord, and just like the pedal, it's not analyzed. It's not really a chord in the normal sense, because 6/4 chords are very unstable sounding. Why are they unstable? Well, I didn't mention this before, but there is this fourth above the bass. And back in the old days, and I mean the Renaissance and the medieval perhaps, but really the Renaissance, the fourth was considered dissonant, and for a very good reason. The fourth does not appear in the overtone series, so it does not harmonize with the other frequencies that we're hearing when we hear this fundamental note. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I mention the overtone series, go look it up. The overtone series is a series of pitches that happen whenever you play a note. It's a natural phenomenon. You not only hear that one low pitch, but you also hear the octave above that, as if the string was divided in half, let's say, or divided in thirds, or in fourths. All of those other vibrations are happening simultaneously, whether it's a string, like the piano or in a woodwind instrument or a brass instrument where the vibration is a column of air. It also gets divided in various ways and creates overtones. But this fourth isn't in that, so it actually sounds dissonant. If I play this F, if I play this C, the F is dissonant above it. Okay, so here it is, the 5/6/4. I'm putting it in parentheses. Let's look at this next measure here that has another 6/4 chord in it. The first chord is G sharp B D. So I'm not going to explain what the analysis of this is, but this looks like a G sharp diminished. Whoops, let me erase this. G sharp B D. So this is an unusual, and I'll put it in red, I guess. G sharp diminished. Unusual because we know we do not normally use diminished triads in root position because it has this diminished fifth above it. Okay, and then the next chord again, it's this D over A, and I'm going to put it in parentheses. This is a passing 6/4. Okay, and then the last one is back to that G sharp diminished. So it goes something. And this one here, this time the G sharp diminished is over B. And you should ask yourself, is that normal? Well, yes, this is the normal 6/4 first inversion, diminished in first inversion. Excuse me, I won't analyze this because it requires a little bit of knowledge that we're not really talking about yet in Theory 1. So here's what this whole passage sounds like. Well, helps if I put it in major. And then, looks like a, so this looks like a little bit like A minor there, and the first chord is D over A. So you should ask yourself, well, I wonder if that's another kind of 6/4 chord. But we won't talk about that one at the moment, though. It does look like a pedal 6/4 there. Okay, so one more time, D minor, and then G, D, kind of in second inversion, G over B, and then this G sharp diminished. Okay, but you could think of it as 5, 1, 5, and then that chord. We won't talk about that right now because that's going to be later. So it's basically here, if you wanted to think of this whole progression, it's just basically 5, 1, and 5. Thanks for watching.